Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Now I am appearing here kind of out of the middle of nowhere as I decided I would be able to do a live stream tonight. And I actually wanted to do one 2 weeks ago, the day after or the day of I got out of the hospital after knee replacement. And I felt fairly decent, but then I thought Aiza wasn't really prepared for it at that time, but I felt good. But I'll tell you what, after day 2, when all those apparently super powerful pain meds disappear while you're in the hospital, then you really start to feel things. And so I've gone through 2 weeks of lethargy and listlessness. I think is because of the oxycodone, which I, after pleading for more, I decided to just stop taking it a day and a half ago because it's just made me completely lazy and uninterested in doing anything and wanting to sleep all the time. And so that just has to go. But at least I feel it's helped me be a little bit better enough to sit here for an hour or so and do a live stream on a topic that just came to mind. And so we're going to try to do that. I also kind of miss doing the live streams. Thank you for the 3 people here today. And just kind of impromptu, we're going to be talking about what do you say to age gap protesters? What do you say to age gap protesters? The reason I'm saying this is I got involved in another person's channel and some dialogue with somebody who, not the first time they took exception to an age gap relationship. I just decided to try to engage them a little bit. And I thought to myself, well, this is what other people are going to have to go through when they marry a Filipina if they look for an age gap relationship. So I want to talk about that tonight. Before I do, just a couple of reminders there in the live chat comment section there. I've got a link to Aiza's channel, the Fil-Am Essence, and I didn't put the in there, but it's the Fil-Am Essence. There's a link to her channel. About 2 weeks ago, she decided to start her own channel, which caught me by surprise. And she seems to enjoy learning about this. She's never done anything like this before. So, and she really hasn't asked for my help either. So she wants to, plow through the process of learning about a channel. I think she does it all on her phone so far. And she seems to be excited about that. So the Fil-Am channel is my wife Aiza's channel. There's a link there to it. Also, I now have a WordPress.com blog site, Love Beyond the Sea. The inimitable Mr. E, the mysterious one, has put this together. The man put together like 147 video scripts because it's a blog site, so it's for articles. But you can put the videos on there too, and there's a way for people to respond, and they're all in order. And our Facebook and Twitter page is on there. Right there on the front page. Also on the front page is a link to Aiza's channel. And Mr. E also contributes some articles. In fact, he has the most recent article on there, which has to do with offshoring your endeavors to find love overseas. So just a couple things there I wanted to mention before we get started. So again, no announcement here because I haven't known what my shape was going to be in. Aiza's work schedule just changed again. So, I also can say that I hope that this coming Saturday night, which is October the 19th, after she gets home from work about 6:30 in the evening, I would like to do a live stream with her and talk about money matters, talk about working in America. And I just want to get started with that, with these questions, but it's all about, people, viewers out there asking her questions about anything in particular, but the topic there would be about working in America, money matters, this coming Saturday, 6:30 a.m. So, Jay Bud would like me to start out by telling us how I feel about age gap relationships, and I can briefly do that. It's going to come out here because I wrote down some of the common complaints or protests that I noticed in my recent conversation with this person. I won't even say who they are. They did come over to my channel. I did delete one comment. I don't want to get involved. I don't want any drama. Don't want anything messy. Um, but I thought, well, you know what? Let's just talk about that. Myself, I got married at 53, J Bud, and May of 2015, and up until age 53, I'd never even thought about it because I'd never thought about going to the Philippines or anyone else outside of my city. So it was a huge move, but I felt the need was so great and the opportunity was there to be able to finally end a long, long drought of being alone that I decided to try it. Now, you could say, well, you said you're 53, so why not just start right in with looking for somebody that was 50? Um, and the honest answer with you about that was, I wanted to experience the best that a relationship had to offer, and no doubt, the sexual side of that is, I think, what drives most men to be looking for an age gap relationship. I wasn't, I didn't have any perverted view of looking for a younger woman. My wife, who was 26 at the time, did not consider her, thank you for the thumbs up, did not consider herself a young woman. In fact, she didn't like me calling her that, But when you're 53 years old and you're chatting to younger women, and it's like, wow, I guess you just naturally want to call them a young woman. But, my wife felt that she was mature, or she didn't like being lumped into this category called young women. She felt she was responsible. She borne a lot of burdens, as do many older Filipinas in the family. And I think she may have thought there was a little bit of a stigma attached to younger woman. I don't know. Never really talked to her that much. She just resents me when I used to call her that. And I didn't mean any harm by it, but she let me know that she's a mature adult woman, and that's how I try to treat her. Thank you for the thumbs up. So I had set my profile. This was Christian Filipina, and like any dating site, I suppose you put in there the age range. I mean, it's called a filter. You can filter by age, by you know religious, church denomination, probably by a whole lot of things. Interest, you can filter by interest, and I think I put Protestant on there, and I put age of 20 to 30. Okay, I was 53. I put 20 to 30. No shame, no reason to have any shame about that. I have a whole playlist about a young wife called probably Young Wife or Younger Wife. You can avail yourself of, describe more of my thoughts about going through this process, and something you can think about in case you are uneasy about it. So I even have a video about how to be comfortable with a younger woman. So I thought I had enough in the tank that I could be good to her in the way of intimacy for a while. Don't think I would have felt good marrying somebody that was younger. Uh, I don't know what's the word, nubile, and then not be able to please her because as I've said before, I mean, the sexual component is a big part of any marriage, and if I had felt like hey, my tank was on empty, her tank was on full, that wouldn't be fair to her, so I wouldn't have done that. So I mean, I could have picked somebody 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Aiza, I didn't pick her for her age. I picked her for her person, for her character, for her personality. So no shame here. And we'll get into that in one of the comments I'll mention from this person who was protesting against an age gap relationship. So, depends on the person. I mean, there's things you have to know, because when you are with a younger woman, I mean, you have to understand you're with a younger woman. So you have to be somewhat prepared for what you're getting into. Canine Companion, J. Bud, you want the real rationale, go to Rike's Life Beyond the Sea. The problem with that is, Canine, that J. Bud asked me about how I feel about age gap relationships. And quite frankly, I doubt that Rike has much of a different view. He may add some other elements to it, but you want to be around a beautiful woman as long as you can, and you want the sexual intimacy as long as you can, and that's probably the number one reason, I would think. I don't know what else it could be for any man. Rike may have looked at, he might have added in more personal interests. Maybe he wanted somebody that's a little more, I don't know, unencumbered. And I read one time, free to go out somewhere at 1 a.m. Well, as a working man, I can't be free to go out anywhere at 1 a.m. So I'm looking for somebody that fits my lifestyle here in the USA, planning to be working for a while. And so I felt that I was hooking up with a young woman who I could be compatible with, and that's very important. So I hope, J. Bud, that Rike, after his recent visit to Davao City, Philippines, I know he's more interested because he said so. He thinks he's closer to, I won't say settled down, but maybe it's settling down is the right term, with somebody after the last 14 years. And I'm aware of his channel because we're all aware of Rike's channel, because it's an excellent channel if you're interested in going to the Philippines. And part of going to the Philippines is going to be relationships with Filipinas, and he has his views. He has his lifestyle goals. I have mine. I am married to a Filipina. Been married to her for just past 4 years and 5 months. So it has not been any issue whatsoever to me. However, there are people out there in YouTube that will lock horns with you on this topic. And that's what I want to talk about today. Cultural mindsets of a society. Vietnam, age gap is not as desirable or wanted or sought after by a younger woman. It's more taboo. It's more frowned upon. In the Philippines, that is not the issue. I'd always heard that Filipinas made great wives. I don't know that I always heard that you can get a younger one. But once I started getting on the website, and you see all these profiles, on that particular one, you saw the age. They stated their own age preference. So you could look through a picture and just say, next, yes, maybe next, maybe yes, next. And you have to make a list, because you're going to go through a whole ton of profiles. And they're coming in all the time. And so it's a very difficult decision. And honestly, if you're a decent man and you can recognize the commonest of red flags, and you're willing to listen to a little advice from other people with the women you're looking at, there are plenty of age gap relationships possible in the Philippines. And one of the things this lady, I'll say she was a lady, was talking to me about was how big of an age range. So comment here from Canine Companion. I do appreciate you logging in here tonight. He spoke of American ideologies, not bashing your channel, just haven't heard you make the argument for or against yet. I don't know if you're referring to age gap. It all depends. One of the videos I haven't done yet, I've written like 170 of them. I'm trying to, I've got so many ideas. I write them all out, and because the longest part is writing them, thinking of them. One of them is on who can handle an age gap relationship, or is an age gap relationship right for you? You know, we'll get into that too one of these days. Well, Jay Bud, keep that thought in mind as we go through some things here that, and there was more that we talked about here, but you know, I didn't want to keep digging them out of that YouTube, all those comments. Well, first, one of the first things this woman said, and by the way, it's a woman that the more I read, the more she revealed. She is an Asian woman, and she said she was in her 30s. I will not reveal her name here. I don't see any reason to do that because this isn't necessarily personal. It's about, you know, what's out there, and you know, if you're a YouTuber or anyone, you go to work, you're going to hear opposition. You know, it's going to be there whether you hear it or not about your age gap relationship. So it's easy to get very riled up when you hear something like this, and I did get a little testy, and I apologize if I said anything in that that man's video called Crazy Filipina Love video on age gap. And so here's some of the things we talked about. She's, well, and 30 years old, and she said she was not single. That doesn't mean to me she was married, because she didn't say she was married. She said she was not single. And a lot of times today here in the West, saying you are not single doesn't mean you're married. It means you have someone at that time. So anyway, the one thing she said was, your love isn't real. That's what she said. And she could be referring to my age gap relationship, your age gap relationship, if you have one. It's not real. Open your eyes, you know, smell the coffee, drink the coffee. It's not real. Canine Companion, a relationship is a relationship. I do not hold a grievance for any woman looking for a financially secure man, nor for a woman looking for the prettiest woman in the room. And what you hit on there, Canine Companion, is that's just basic, fundamental 101 stuff there. Woman wants some financial security. Of course she does. Probably just woven into her DNA by her creator. I'm not going to argue with that. I don't argue, and don't know why anyone would, about a man looking for the prettiest woman he can get. I have no problem with that. And like I've always said, I mean, pretty women in the Philippines is not challenging. The challenging part will be finding somebody that's right for you, finding somebody that you have compatibility with, being prepared for that relationship, clearing your past away so you can focus on this younger woman, learning about generation gap issues, which I have a live stream. It was actually one of Jay Bud's ideas. I think it's done pretty good. Generation gap issues with an age gap. So that's all part of it. Prepare yourself for cultural differences and so on, because finding a younger woman to connect with is easy. You know, I almost said it's child's play, but that would be a pun. And these are not children we're talking about here. We're talking about younger women. So if somebody tells you, huge point, most people understand guys wanting younger, but the younger woman will be accused of being a gold digger, it's harder for the girl. And well, that's just a man being a man, you know, looking for a, you know, younger, prettier woman. In fact, if he was looking for somebody that, you would say, well, I mean, I think it's like, again, I don't want to be judgmental here, but if you've got, let's say, a 25-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman, to me, that would make me feel really odd because normally, younger man, prettier woman. In fact, the older a man gets, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, he is still attracted to basically a woman of the same age, which is around 20 to 25 years of age. It doesn't seem to change. For a woman, she's going to want somebody with some financial stability. For a Filipina, that does not mean that he has to be making $100,000 a year and has $1 million in the bank. It does not mean that at all. It might mean that for some women. I think for most Filipinas, I do not get that impression. Urban 9, thank you for joining tonight in this out of the blue impromptu live stream. You know what I like about age gap relationships? If you don't want one, then don't get one. Certainly, this woman that was protesting with me is railing against it, and she's not the first one. Sometimes I decide to kind of go to battle a little bit and say things because I think it will help other men know how to respond to them. And, anybody that's not interested, I mean, it's their business, it's their life, they're responsible for what they do. I think there's a lot of gray area with looking for a spouse. Obviously, you have to want to care for them and be good to them, and you both have to want to give some to each other so you can fit into each other's lives and make a good team. I think team is fair to say about a marriage, and that can include, often does include, since probably the beginning of time, has involved an age gap relationship, usually with the older man and the younger woman. J Bud, have sympathy for the Panay because older women and I can't, all it says here is will, CAHE. So I don't know what that means. Some older women and this woman here that I'm going to tell you her comments is not old. I mean, she's in her 30s. So I guess, relatively speaking, an Asian woman in her 30s perhaps could be considered older in the sense that the Westerners who are looking to marry are often looking for younger women. Here in America, somebody that is in their 30s would not be considered old. Probably not like it is in the East. A gold digger. Call her a gold digger. Well, she's trying to improve her life. A Western man has taken an interest in her, started a relationship with her, sees a future with her, proposes to her, wants to marry her, wants to petition her to come to his country, goes to meet her probably more than once. In our case, it was just the one time. Probably meet her family. I asked her father if I could marry her. My wife and her whole family was seated around him there. Wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a one-on-one situation, and I got a one-on family. But that's okay. Their opportunity to ask questions. It wasn't difficult. I laid it out why I was interested in his daughter. I probably didn't even mention the age gap because that was immaterial. I wanted him to know the same things I told my wife, how I wanted to take care of her, be good to her, why I liked her, why I thought she would make a quality wife. So I asked him, for his permission to marry her. And, the term gold digger, I mean, I don't know. That's such an extreme term. Somebody wanting to marry someone, like even Enrique said, if he had a daughter, I don't know if he does, and somebody comes over, and some younger man, and and he wants to talk to her. Well, he's going to want to check out this guy's standing with working. Is he applying himself? He has a job. That's important. That's his daughter, hypothetically. And I would say the same about myself, and probably most of you would say the same thing. You've got a daughter. You don't want her to marry some bum, some aimless person. You want her to marry somebody that can help her have a better future. That's not being judgmental. That's just being wise. You're going to make a decision who to marry. So you have to really take into account a lot of things, not just the way she looks. Look at it from the woman's perspective. She's going to want someone that, can take care of her. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't care. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Yeah, no one is coercing these girls to get into a relationship with old men, and that's one of the things I'll get to. Does she think women have no agency or responsibility in these relationships with these older foreigners? Urban 9. Canine companion, there is only haves and have-nots. Everyone wants a better life. It's a trade-off at best. The man gets the youthfulness from her, and the woman gets financial ability. True. Canned act of kindness. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. And J. Bud, never expect older women to approve of a guy marrying a younger woman. Well, J. Bud, I have proudly introduced my wife to all the people, like my financial advisor and her boss. And my financial advisor is a little older than my wife, and then her boss is older. They're very two sharp individuals, and they absolutely love Aiza. They love seeing us, not just because they're our financial advisors, but I know that they have the respect for us. They consider us a cute couple. They can see that we have some kind of chemistry, which was developed because we got married in less than 8 weeks. So how much chemistry did we have before? Probably none. It's been developed, and through the things I try to teach on the channel. My dentist is probably my age and a woman. She loves seeing us in there, and the dental assistant is a woman. Aiza's very class act, and we get no trouble there. Anybody that knows us, it seems like most of them are women. No trouble. My wife's doctor is a woman, and of course I was in there on the initial meetings to let her know I'm her husband, and make what you want of the age gap. But oddly enough, I haven't sensed a shred of problem. And that's the thing. Once you meet these people in person, and I don't know if it's the same thing on YouTube where you see a couple together and they're doing a live video, can you accurately gauge how well the relationship is? Probably to some extent, and people see you in everyday life. I think, what can they say sometimes? I hope they say, wow, it looks like that relationship is okay. It looks like that relationship is on par with other relationships. I don't see any issue with their relationship. I just haven't noticed that. Urban 9, well, I do think the economic conditions of a country do play a role. It's why there is not a big community of Western men and South Korean women, but that doesn't mean men aren't genuine here. I'm not sure what South Korean women are like. All I know is where I was going to turn to next out of absolute need was the Philippines. Why? Because my pastor sent me an email of a man that found a wife there. Yes, my pastor was actually trying to help me find a wife. And I actually know a guy. We've had them over a couple times. We've been out at their place and had dinner with them and their family. He was the first friend I had, Westerner, who married a Filipina, probably 16, 18 years ago. And now all of a sudden I ended up doing the same thing. And we know other couples like that. And I don't know, we seem to be happy. Filipinas are quite capable, quite capable. And I don't think they're gritting their teeth through the whole process like this woman here seems to think. Canine companion. On many chats, I am accused of being a sexpat without the Panay even knowing who I am. A lot of stereotypes with this age gap, and what I want to do here today is just try to be rational about talking with people about this, because you don't want to come off as being insecure. You don't want to come off as being defensive, because that makes it look like you have something to hide. Like, they try to get you to reveal a little shame in what you're doing. There shouldn't be any shame in an age gap relationship. Can act of kindness depends on maturity of the man and the woman. Absolutely, you can have a more mature, younger Panay than the Western man, especially if he is still harboring some hard feelings for his most recent relationship, whether it be with a Filipina or somebody from the West. And maturity, very, very important. Thank you, Ken, for that comment. If mature mind, normally young is annoying. It can be. I mean, yeah, the youth of a woman can be very appealing, I would think, to the most stiffest shirt man. I mean, what's not to like about a more carefree wife? I wouldn't call Aiza carefree, but I do like the fact that she is younger, and how that shows itself. I don't know. I tend to be more mature and kind of uptight about things, and I'm always thinking about the future. Aiza more tries to keep me grounded and think about the present, not so much about the future. But I think she's beginning to see the need to think about the future more. So we're kind of helping each out together in that way. Age 55, like kid matches 24-year-old mind. It works. I'm not sure what you mean there, Ken, but let me close out this subscription update there. You can have a 55-year-old that hasn't quite grown up, a 24-year-old that's born the yoke in her youth, so to speak, been taking care of everybody with her money, is very mature, not materialistic. And, that would describe my wife, I think. Filipinas do that to crap test you, hence the 21 questions. I'm not sure what the 29 questions are there. Urban 9. Not sure what you're referring to there, Ken. For me, 10 or up, 10 down works for me, not for all. I never thought I'd find somebody 10 years younger. I thought that was being unrealistic, and it ends up being 27. And in fact, it's 28 now until she has her next birthday. Ken, some like young child to control the relationship, that's always bad. Yeah, can you control Filipina? Well, I guess it depends on the Filipina. You can try, but she will resist. It's like poking a animal in a cage. They're not docile and submissive and malleable and silly putty in your hands. They're a person like anyone else, and like anyone else, we don't respond to control. We respond to respect and just respect. Treating someone respectfully. Uh, Half my age plus 7 canine companion. Well, let's see, 53, 26, 7, 33. Um, Nothing wrong with that formula. Um, but ultimately, it comes down to how those two are going to mesh together in their relationship. The age, in a sense, is just a number. Um, if the two of you are going in opposite directions in life, then you could be the same age, and 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 it's just not going to work out. So you need to be a team. That goes for future plans, how you interact on a day-to-day basis. Um, you know, I don't know. I have not found an age gap. I don't compare it to if I was married to somebody my own age. I'm not sure what to compare that to because I kind of grew up here without a relationship for a long time. All I know is I have a relationship. I'm married, so I'm married. I honestly, guys, I don't think about her age, and I think most vloggers would tell you the same thing. They just don't think about the age gap. You might pinch yourself once in a while early on, but eventually, you're married, you have decisions to make together. You're going to disagree on a lot of stuff. You got sacrifices to make. You have to get along. It's a learning process. And and eventually, I mean, I doubt Isaac thinks about my age every day. I certainly don't her. Rare cases, mutual love, can act of kindness. That's a whole other issue here about love, and I think she gets into that with some of her comments. And well, I guess it depends on love. I don't want to belabor the point, but to me, love is an action. It is not a feeling. It's a verb, maybe a noun, but it's expressed actively. What am I doing for my wife to show her I love her? What is she doing to me, for me, to show me that she loves me? If she's generally meeting my needs, she loves me. If I'm generally meeting her needs, I love her. That's all anybody needs to be concerned about. Jay Bud, I respected her choices. I know you do. And that's what works. I mean, look, why not treat her like an individual? Uh, Nobody wants to be controlled. Now, I think some men, getting back to Ken's comment about controlling a younger woman or a child, some men feel like getting a younger Filipina, another country, maybe she thinks he's all that because he's from the West and he can control her. Well, that will end up in utter disaster. Um, you want to influence her with your experience. You want to influence her. You don't want to control her. You don't want her to be trapped. She's going to end up right back in the Philippines. So, Jay, Bud, you're very wise to respect her choices. If you are together and that choice is going to affect you, then of course you would have a right to sit down and say, well, here, we got to talk about this because, how is this going to affect each of us? So you just sit down and talk through those things. But trying to bully and coerce, um, micromanage. I've got a video coming up eventually on not micromanage a Filipina, signs of micromanaging to avoid. Um, I don't micromanage. Aiza, I think we've reached a point now in almost 4.5 years where we know each other enough that, you kind of sniff each other out the first 2 years, so to speak. And then it's like, okay, I know what I've got here, and the experiences together, it's like, okay, you develop trust over time. First step, both love Jesus. Second step, love the soul, the heart. If I argue a lot, not a match. Well, Ken, I wanted a Christian, so that was my main thing with Aiza. We talked about what our marriage would look like, type of marriage I wanted to have, and she was amenable to that. So we got married really fast. Since 2012, only 3 arguments. That's great because that was 7 years ago. Um, I hate to even talk about that, because then as soon as I think things are going good, we'll get into a spat, and you will eventually get into a spat. So, arguments have been few and far between. Most of ours were early on. You're going to get them once in a while. That's just the way it is, but very good for you then. Hello, Louise BMX, thank you for being here. But let me get in some of her comments. She says the love is not real. The love is not real. Bob, your love is not real. And she's talking about probably my wife. Your wife, younger Filipina, does not love you. Well, wouldn't I be the one to be able to gauge whether or not I feel loved? How can somebody from out there somewhere who doesn't know us, who hasn't watched all 290 videos to get some idea of, our interaction on film and in text, a description, and she can say, well, she doesn't love you. Well, it's a stereotype. My wife does love me. I mean, if my wife doesn't love me, then I have don't have the foggiest clue what love is. Ken, you can probably discern whether your wife loves you. Some of the usual guys aren't here tonight that are married to Filipinas, but Ken is. Uh, my wife loves me. What does that mean? It means she meets my needs. She's my companion. She's my lover. I get unlimited touch. Um, uh, we have plans together. I can see us becoming more of a unit, functioning together, thinking about each other. And this takes time. We got married in 54 days. That's it. We're married. We're first couple of years, we're still learning together when most people about each other, and most people are still dating. And that was my choice. And it was her choice to do that. Just like it was our choice to be involved with an age gap relationship. It's our responsibility. It's not the lady that I was wrangling with. It's our choice. I see the sparkle in her matas when she looks at you. Oh, Aiza, I hope you're talking about Ken. Um, yeah, somebody made the comment. It was a troll. Yeah, thanks, Ken. And they said, "Wow, your wife only smiles when she's with her friends." Well, nothing could be further than the truth. Just look in our videos. I know she's got some more coming out. Uh, as for me, we speak lifelong in love, honeymoon. Um, Eyes, Mata's eyes. Yeah, you can tell. You can look at people and hopefully have a gut reaction of whether they're faking or they've established over the time that they've been together a bond, a relationship. Yes, it can happen with an older Westerner and a younger Filipina. Many of us have experienced that. Canine, the introduction of a deity does not decrease the chances of a successful relationship, does not increase the chances of a successful relationship. Well, that deity does not force us against our will. That deity wants the marriage to work, but the two people that are married are going to have to submit themselves to what works. And that deity, we don't need to get in a long drawn out discussion here, but if we're talking God, God wants relationships to stay together, and he can help them to be together, and he helps them to have the perspective to be together. But if they don't listen to him, then or one person goes off on a selfish streak, then that's going to be a problem. And so I think Eyes and I are on the same page religiously, and I think that does help us. But look, it's free will. You can choose to make bad choices. and that will affect your relationship. So the love is not real. Look, I'll be the one that determines whether our love is real. Another thing they pointed out was, listen to this, they won't like sex with you. Your Filipino wife will not like sex with you. Only because they are poor are they having sex with you. So that's what they say. Um, they won't like it. Well, again, would not any Westerner married to a Filipina be the judge on whether or not she likes it? I mean, can't he tell? Can't she tell? If can't they talk about these things? Uh, they use some pretty gross terms. Like going into the bathroom and throwing up. And stuff like that. Well, that's just an over exaggeration. you know, this person I thought was putting way too much emphasis on the physical, and I'm talking about appearance. Um, so she's saying, well, you're going to gross her out because she's younger, and well, that's the woman is Filipina's not stupid. Um, she's smarter probably than this woman is giving her credit for. She she makes a choice to marry somebody. She doesn't have to. She can wait and look for somebody else. I think normally Filipinas are highly sought after, and but she, so there's two things here. She won't like the sex with you. Well, I don't know. I can't say I've experienced that. Again, that's a very private thing that this protester would have no knowledge of in our relationship or anybody else's relationship. That's just her notion, her idea, maybe of what she would do in that situation. But to say she won't like being intimate with you is a little much. And then saying only because of being poor. She's only marrying you for sex, for money, because she's poor. Well, she doesn't have to marry me. The Filipina can marry anybody she wants. Um, and I think she's smart enough to know what she's getting into, to know what her options are in life, considering her age, considering her fertility, considering the options for men that she's had so far. And, they're actually hot items. They're very desirable. That's why I have a channel, to help people consider looking for high character Filipina. Could be the best thing that ever happened to them. Yeah, Ken and Canine Companion discussing religion and how that affects marriage. Uh, Ken has had some interesting experiences. I know Christianity was first and foremost to him, and now it's first and foremost for me. New York Mets fan, 2006. Hello, Bob. Hopefully, recovery from the surgery is going well. Well, I hope I look pretty presentable here today, but the oxycodone was wearing me out. I just stopped taking it. Here I am pleading for double the dose because I know it works. It's so hard to find a way to sleep that isn't painful, and can't do your physical therapy if you're in pain. The physical therapy is getting tough. The last 3 times, I mean, I literally today was this close to putting my hand on the lady. She's an older woman. She does a fantastic job. She knows what she's doing. But it was hurting so bad. I kept thinking, please, no more. Stop. I might even started saying something like, we please, we got to let up here. I was on my back. She was pushing my right leg down flat over the knee, upper thigh area, because we have to get that loose, because she's got to get me at certain degrees as they report to the surgeon, of course. And the surgeon wants to make sure the therapist is doing their job to get you up to speed, and a good therapist will push you very hard. And the last 3 have been exhausting, wincing in pain, almost in tears. And she says it can't hurt me, damage me, but it sure hurts. And I always have pain now in areas I didn't before, but it does help. But I've been almost afraid to go back because literally, because it's been tough to, maybe I've been slow in getting straightened out. But wow, it's tough. Is it going to help me? Yeah, if it doesn't kill me, it probably will. So I would say it's probably getting better. It hurts right now. I just took pain pills, but no more oxycodone. I wasn't doing much with my channel. I was completely lazy, listless, lethargic. That's just not me, especially when it comes to my channel. So I do feel better after not taking it for a day and a half. It's just I have to overcompensate with more pain meds. Uh, I didn't know this was going to be this tough of a recovery. So I'll be home for another 4 weeks, thankfully. So thank you, New York Mets fan 2006. Canine companion Philippine people are happy people by nature and make great friends as well. I'm looking forward to making friends from the Philippines when we, Lord willing, retire there in about 4 years. I agree, Bob. Can't wait to retire and meet a Panay. Um, well, there's people that retire in the Philippines and then begin their search. Thanks for the thumbs up, whoever that might be. And there's people that do it from their country because they're not old enough in the position to retire and go to the Philippines. Xander Fire, hey there. And thank you for joining us tonight, Xander Fire. Can of kindness or act of kindness. It was the right knee, one day at a time. Yeah, New York Mets fan, that's right. I got to stretch it out. Actually, this is quite a long time for sitting here. I've had it up so much in the last 2 weeks. I'm just going to try to pound out a live stream tonight. And I was trying to write articles while in the hospital. My wife has a little video on that, on the hospital stay on her channel. And now I'm feeling a little bit better without the oxycodone. So let's do a live stream. But I want to know you guys' thoughts about this age gap. She only has having sex with you, older Westerner. She doesn't like it. She's only doing it because she's poor, and she doesn't enjoy it. One of the things she said was, well, she said, you should feel gross. Thanks for the thumbs up. You should feel gross. I should feel grossed out. Or excuse me. Well, I guess she's going both ways. She's saying I should feel gross because I'm, for some odd reason, with a woman 20 to 25 years younger, and she will feel gross because she's with grandpa. That's her assessment. That's how you should feel. But again, I would know how she feels because I can observe her. And when you're talking about something as personal and intimate as sex, you can tell. You should be able to tell. It's something you talk about. It's something you observe. It's always something you're trying to improve on for the sake of each other. So I can assure you nobody is feeling gross. That's all you can respond to a protester and say, we're doing very fine, thank you. And just leave it at that. Best to try not to argue. Byron Watts, thank you for being here tonight, Byron. Some of us living in the Philippines are not retired. Maybe retirement first isn't necessary. If you can work, although most don't, but if there's a way to, now there's retired, and then there's you retired, but you have pension, you have 401k, you have maybe the sale of, I don't know, land, like or property, not property. You're renting something out like Frank Battaglia does. You get income from that. But as far as working, not being retired, I'm not sure what the options are there, Byron. Feel free to list some of the options there, how a person could be in the Philippines without retiring, because a lot of men would jump at that option, and we're thinking, well, here I am 5 years away, 10 years away, or maybe it's 20 years away. And that can be a little discouraging. And I'm always up for younger men looking to the Philippines for a wife. So if there are ways that they can earn income online, which certainly has exploded over the years. That would be one way they can do that. If they can have a job online or teaching, why not? I mean, ideally, if the pursuit of a wife is that important, and the cost of living is going to be a lot less, that is an option. If there's something you can do, I'm not up on that. I'm just trying to push through, the last 4 years or so of work, getting my knee worked on, so I can continue to do that. Thank you, Ken Act of Kindness, for your prayer. I've had four knee surgeries now. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries, back surgery. I'm trying not to have neck surgery. Hopefully I don't have to operate on the left knee someday. This has been the worst recovery. And that's normal. They tell you, hey, Bob, surgeon said, you're only 58, you're young. You're going to have a harder time with this recovery than an older person. You're going to bleed more. My bones bled more than normally from an older person, and kept draining the blood, and I think probably the muscle or muscle tissues or something is probably less conducive to a less painful recovery at my age. But I had to, and everyone I've talked to that had a knee replacement said they don't regret doing it. They should have told me though first how difficult it was going to be in this. Rachel, life in danger in 2018, and prayed and healed her of 5 things instantly. Well, Ken, I hope your prayers are successful for me, and I appreciate you being a man of prayer for your wife. I've been doing a lot of that for Aiza lately. Byron Watts, I work online, earning income from a couple USA companies to fund my life completely, location independently. You're on Mindanao, Byron, and our home. We have a home. Yes, we do. We're going to go live there in December for about a month in Davao City, Philippines. And I envy you, Byron, and other people here that are going to see this now or see this 6 months or a year from now. Think about ways you could work online earning income. Now, we would like to live on my pension, my Social Security. And I'm not going to ask anyone to reveal what they can live on there. I would like to live on, and I know we can. We've kind of done some rough estimates, $1,500-$1,600 a month, and we should be able to support ourselves and the family to some degree. We're not going to be able to go to Italy or something like that unless we pull that money out from somewhere else. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Byron, because it can be discouraging with somebody saying, hey, Philippines, gold mine of potential excellent old-fashioned traditional wives, but you have to wait till you're a certain age. And some of us will have to wait till we're a certain age. In your case, you're able to continue to work, and it's nice not having to drive to work and go through all of that, and just do your job from your computer. And I certainly hope the slower internet out there, it must not be so slow that you can't do your work. We're putting in internet here pretty quick. That's one of our next, we're upgrading the internet, one of our next projects. I want the very best we can get, for the channel and just for everything. And so we'll see. But yeah, if you're working online, then the internet connection hopefully is not going to mitigate against what you're trying to do. And Ken, you mentioned that 6.7 quake in Mindanao. I read this morning while we were driving to the physical therapist. I can't drive yet, probably be another week or two. And I saw my wife's sister that there was a tsunami warning. Well, there's an earthquake first. Actually, I think it might have been Tom and Ruth Filipina Ventures. That he lives in Mindanao, and he mentioned his place moving like 4 or 5 inches and shaking. And so I checked it out. Sure enough, there was an earthquake, and then I saw potential. Well, actually, what I saw was no tsunami warnings. Tsunamis can happen after earthquakes. No tsunami warnings. And then I find out from another source People are told to evacuate in Davao because of an upcoming tsunami. Well, then I found out it was fake news. So they did not have to evacuate due to that earthquake in Davao and surrounding regions. Byron Watts, you have fiber, very reliable here, 10 megabytes up and down. I'll ask my wife about that. I told her I want the best that money can buy for, that's available in Davao City for the internet. And I'll ask her about fiber. And hopefully that's what we can get. Michael and Heidi, thank you, Michael. Thank you for being here. We're kind of getting into what do you say to age gap protesters? I've been reading some comments from some that I got from somebody. It's not the first time, and just how to kind of oppose those comments. Byron, the earthquake was very interesting here too. A little closer to Cagayan de Oro than Tom and Ruth. So it was widespread. Gaisano Mall is still on fire. Michael, I believe it was your link that I looked at this morning when I was on Tom and Ruth Filipina Ventures, was looking at their short video he released from it. And I have not checked to see if he's gone outside to investigate any damage, but I saw your video. So always a scary thing. Canine Companion, I thank you for being here tonight, sharing some of your evening on Love Beyond the Sea. And take care of yourself. And I want to think it's Monday. I usually do these on Monday, but it's hump time now, middle of the week. What do they call that? The middle of the week. So me, it doesn't matter. I haven't worked for a few weeks, so I can't really tell. Damage your church on the 3rd floor. And where was that church again, Michael? General Santos, another quake, separate quake near South General Santos. Well, it's sad to say, but the Philippines is located in, what do they call that? The top of the ring of fire. Ken retired age 47, now 56. As long as there's enough sustainable income coming in, a Filipina does not have to have, luxury items and luxury cars and 6-figure salaries and things like that. Many YouTubers can claim that, but Michael, we're talking about, a woman telling me, well, the love isn't real with my wife, and telling me that she won't like sex with me. She only does it because she's poor. And like I'm trying to, say here, don't be insecure, don't be defensive. How to respond to her. And then she's saying, well, you should feel gross. Well, I don't feel gross because I married a woman whose parents gave me permission to marry her. She wanted to marry me. I wanted to marry her. We did. No reason for anybody to feel gross. No reason for anybody to feel shame at all. Poor sex better than no sex. Well, I don't know. That's an oxymoron. That's for sure. Poor sex can, depending on what you mean by that, can lead to no sex. But when you're starving and you're hungry, I know it's a joke, but still, I think about that, because when I was laboring through years of being alone, I thought I'd take anything, I can get. I thought, what, once a week, if I had to starve it once a week or once every 2 weeks, that would be great because it's better than nothing. And, anything is better than nothing. You just have to be able to communicate together, as with anything else. That goes for the bedroom, and then it can be wonderful. No, it's not something that you're just gagging through. She's gagging through. That's just nonsense. I mean, I know that's not true in our case. What else am I supposed to say to them? Amazing the number of people who really don't understand what they're talking about. Ignoring a lot of the noise will be useful. Byron Watts. You're right, Byron. It is helpful to ignore it, but sometimes you feel that someone is so, has a mission to it becomes personal. It becomes personal that I'm doing something wrong, that my wife is only because she's poor, which is another assumption. She's poor. That's an assumption. She doesn't love you. That's an assumption. She doesn't enjoy the sex. That's another assumption. Yeah, you want to lash back, but I'm the one that's happily married with my wife, and I can. What am I supposed to say? How are you going to prove that? Uh, if I say she loves me, she loves me. If she says she loves me, she loves me. She says she enjoys it, she enjoys it. And if she says she's happy, she's happy. That's that's the bottom line. And they don't understand. And for some reason, I don't know, what do they expect to gain arguing with somebody uh, about their sex life, or the age gap? What's in it for them? And I think Mr. E has some comments about that before I'm done, about what's in it for them. New York Mets fan 2006. In the Philippines, I'd be nervous living in a building above the 10th floor. Woo. There was no earthquake code standards, which is rather surprising because there are so many earthquakes over there. Life is good. To focus on good, defend the truth at all costs, love all the haters. That's a good perspective. Haters gonna hate. Can't take the love. Well, at least they can respect you for not trying to fight with them. But so those are some of the comments. I got a lot more that I was told, and I want to say how I responded. And I did talk to Mr. E about this, who put together the wonderful blog site for Love Beyond the Sea, which has my channel, Aiza's channel, Facebook, and Twitter, all there, and Mr. E's own commentary, which augments mine because he speaks a language most of my viewers are not going to. And so I think that helps, because we both would like to see men find love beyond the sea. I talked to Mr. E about these comments. I said, what do you make of this? Well, he guessed correctly that it was a woman. It was an Asian woman, said she was in her 30s. He thinks she's a westernized Asian woman from a first world country with impeccable English, judging by her comments, possibly playing the field, and is on the carousel, has multiple boyfriends without their knowledge. So I don't know. She didn't say she was married, but she said that she was not single. But anyway, this woman certainly has a bone to pick with me. Rabidly opposes anything that goes against Western sensibilities. Gets triggered when she sees older men marrying younger women. Most certainly seems to be the case. She did say that within 10 years, she was okay with that. And that's fine. That's her own personal view of that. I had a different one. Nothing wrong with 10 years younger. But when you have the opportunity to find a younger woman, is there anything against the law? Is there anything immoral looking for a younger wife? No, not at all. He also says she gets triggered when she sees older men marrying younger women, as it reminds her she is no longer beautiful and young, and she will have to settle for a Billy Beta soon. What's in it for her? I don't know. She's certainly not going to change our marriage or anybody else's choices. But yeah, for some reason, she feels triggered, and that's okay to lash out against people in these relationships. And I don't know. Maybe she knows someone that had a bad experience with that. I know she feels that her Asian counterparts are doing themselves a disfavor marrying these Western men. I that's up to them. I respect them too much. They're not stupid and naive. They 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 do know what they're doing, I believe. And he points out, Mr. E does, dating a younger woman has been the standard for much of human history. Can anybody disagree with that? Dating a younger woman has been the standard from the beginning of time. Absolutely. Michael and Heidi, jealousy rules her. Proverbs 31, charm is deceptive, beauty is fleeting, so now she can stay at home when she's 50 years old with her cat. Well, that must be a different version, but I think I know what you're saying. And speaking about fleeting beauty, the man's beauty is going to go too. The reference, I mean, the Bible talks about, the woman's beauty, it doesn't last. And this handsome man that this Asian woman, seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on, well, look, that's not going to last too. Just look at the Hollywood actors, then and now, or somebody then and now. The looks of the man are going to change, and but again, a woman knows that before she gets into a relationship with someone. Abraham, 11 years older than Sarah. Abraham and Sarah are the only two people in the Bible that are married that we know their ages of. That's it. Let me delete this so I can see the comments. In fact, there's Ruth and Boaz. Boaz, quite a bit older than Ruth. You almost have to go to legend to establish it, but it's largely understood that there was a very large age gap, and but again, the Bible doesn't say thou shalt not marry a woman more than 5 years older. Thou shalt not marry a woman outside of the borders of your country. You have, in my opinion, a lot of latitude that's going to come down to common sense and discernment. I mean, it's kind of silly to say, oh, she's too young. Well, I mean, you can talk about that with each other. Are you too young for me? Am I too old for you? You should talk about those things. I mean, you just should, get it out there, talk about the future. If you're not married, talk about anything you need to talk about. I know one thing we're not going to say is, hun, is your love for me going to be real? Are you only marrying me because you're poor? Are you going to feel gross? Another point she mentioned was that I was exploiting her. I was exploiting her because I chose an age gap of about 27 years. It's not me. Insert anybody with the older age gap. Does my wife feel exploited? I doubt it. Am I exploiting her? No. And if other people feel that, that's because, you see a 1% or less age gap of 20 plus years in the United States, normally just reserved for, Hollywood. So it's different. And so you need to accept it. I would not be afraid of that. That's why I want to talk about, how to respond to that. And someday you may have some cantankerous person at work or wherever sit and talk to you about that and just open up. And the more you can just be calm, cool, collected, and tell them, I love my wife. Do you have a problem with me choosing who to marry? And do you have a problem with her choosing who to marry? We're doing quite well, thank you. So, we're doing just fine. Now, they said almost none of these age gap relationships are romantic. And, well, again, I guess that's up to them. I would think our romance and my relationship started after we got married. In fact, after she finally got here. January, 11th of 2016. Now we're together and we can start to build our relationship. I always caution against being married for feelings or some emotional thing. You have certain needs, she has certain needs and wants. Talk about those, see if you can, meet those things. I don't think that means, oh, it's just a transaction like this woman thinks. Just comes down to, what am I looking for? I don't know what you're looking for. I know what I'm looking for: companionship, intimacy, touch. That's all I need. That's all I need from her. I'm not expecting her to work miracles. That's all I want. That's all I need. Never had it. And she's given me that. She hasn't complained. She seems happy. She seems satisfied. I think we both know the situation. Some things are unspoken, we don't have to say that in America the age gap is unusual. I think she knows that. And not all women in the Philippines are, as you know, happy with age gap relationships. And, still comes down to the woman and her choice. Aiza is pulling her weight here in every way imaginable. So we have no qualms about it as far as I'm concerned. One time somebody at work, when she just got there, asked my wife, how old is your husband? And she looked at him and said, why don't you go ask him? So she doesn't like talking to people about that. Can't appreciate your statements of truth. I appreciate your prayer earlier for this knee. It really bums me out, but all we can do is all we can do. MH, hi Bob, it's Mark. How are you? Finally able to catch you live. MH, now I hope you don't mind. I don't know. I want to say how old you are, but then maybe I shouldn't. But I am glad you're here. Ask away. This won't apply to you per se because of your age. We're talking about, what do you say to age gap protesters? I had a little row on somebody else's video about age gap. They picked a bone with me, so I decided to push back a little bit, trying to do it with what I thought was logic. I'll explain to you here what I said to them. Not sure I got anywhere. Thank you, MH, for joining us tonight. Love Beyond the Sea. Mark Richard, I am 64, girlfriend, fiance rather, 25. She is just fine with the age gap. She's beautiful, smart, and so I hope to have her here in Michigan within 2 or 3 months to get married, right when it's going to be really cold. I've been to Michigan. I've been to East Lansing once. I thought East Lansing was a lot like where we are here in Nebraska. Thought it was a very nice place. So, she's probably going to be comfortable there, not surrounded by millions of people. So, yeah, Mark, these are things you'll come up against. And this is just very common throughout history. Not everybody dares to look for a younger wife. They don't have to. They don't have to. But if you do and you make the move, then you want to know some things about that. Like I said, I've got playlists about that. I'm not shy to talk about, I think, the dynamics about that, generation gap, age gap, whatever you need to know, because that's part and parcel often of a foreigner looking for love in the Philippines. Byron Watts, not romantic? Oh, please. Someone outside of your relationship cannot possibly know about your relationship. Some people should be removed from your sphere of influence. Well, this person was just, they took exception to something I said, which was totally innocuous and harmless, but they didn't like my age gap relationship. Saw one video, concluded all kinds of things from one video, and are saying these things here. The love isn't real. won't like the sex only because of being poor. I should feel gross, exploitation. Almost none of these relationships are romantic. Well, what is romance? I don't know. I mean, I think our relationship is becoming romantic more as I love her more and want the best of her more. And I mean, whenever you pursue somebody from the other side of the world, I think there has to be a little bit of romance involved with that. Uh, well, Mark, don't hurt yourself in the gym. Have a good workout tonight. Look closer to 50. Way to go. And that is something there that probably helps you find a younger wife who is 25 years old. So thank you for joining tonight, Michael and Heidi. I think there's something special about a man being older than his wife, especially as a Christian. Goes along with the ability to lead your wife in wisdom. And, that can be the case. That is best. I like to look at myself as feeling some responsibility to my wife and to her whole family to lead her responsibly. And that doesn't mean coerce her, force her, control her, manipulate her, uh, uh, then that's micromanage her. That's different. That's not leading. You have to have a little more finesse when it comes to leading. And if the older man can lead her better, all the better for her. I think he can probably teach her some things with his experience, but that depends. Filipinas should want to marry a man that doesn't just have X number of years on him, but has some wisdom behind those years. So I agree with you. Now she says, why can't you see what's going on? Well, the reason I can't see what she apparently sees or perceives is because I don't experience that way. Um, I'm not influenced by these ideas. All I care about is our relationship, providing for Aiza. I want every part of it to be good for her, and you know that includes intimacy or anything else. I think we both can do the math. I'm sure she wishes I was younger because she knows how much I care about her, but that's the decision we made. A woman can say, well, I'm never going to marry an older guy, let's say 20 years, over 10 years, 20 years, 15 years. Well, that may be the best chance she has in her life. Is she supposed to wait till she's 35 or 40 and then reevaluate her options? This is something she has to look at, with the people that are showing interest in her. MH, early 20s. Well, how about that? We've got 64, Mark Richard, MH, early 20s. And what if the age gap is reverse? I ended up finding someone 2 years older than me who aligned with a value. She's more mature than me, and I've been honest about my personal life. Well, 2 years is not much at all. 2 years now. Again, if you had said, "Well, hey, I'm early 20s and I'm going to marry this woman that's 43," I would be surprised. I do know this was a guy at church back in the 90s. I know he was a younger guy. He was in his upper 20s. Very smart, very, very smart man. Upper 20s, I think. I mean, that was a long time ago. Maybe he was 30. I know I was older than he was. But he married a woman who was in her 50s. Pretty sure she was in her 50s. Now, that was my first exposure to an age gap relationship, and it was in reverse. And I'm sure that the church gave him plenty of input at his request for how to prepare for the end of the relationship, meaning throughout the years. Let's say he's 30 and she's 50. Then he's 50 and she's 70. Is he able to deal with what's coming down the line. What is coming down the line? And he needs to write it out. She needs to write it out. They probably got typical counseling with the added counseling of, you guys are 20 years older. That only happens about 1% of the time. In fact, in your case, the woman is older than you are. And so that's an example of somebody I just thought of now, MH. And they did get married. And as far as I know, they were fine. In fact, they were hanging out with us. And I was probably in my 30s back then. And yeah, hanging out with us younger guys. And nobody criticized him for it. That was his decision. He wasn't a fool. He liked this woman. He thought, well, this is the person I'm supposed to marry. This is the best choice I have to getting married, for whatever his criteria was. That's his business. And so that can happen. And, I'm glad you were honest with her about your personal life. You should always be honest about personal life. You never want to come up later and say, well, I have to reveal to you this dark side about my past, after you're married or you're gone too far into it. You don't want to talk about it on the first date, but you do need to be open, talk about things. And, I have done several videos on questions to ask each other at various stages of the relationship as it progresses and becomes more serious. Yeah, observed that similar kind of women, age gap upset, Western feminists. Well, sure, they're upset with the age gap. Guys are looking at other options now since they feel like the West doesn't afford them what they want and what it used to. So, they're going east like I did. And I just did it because after so long, I realized I wasn't getting anywhere. So I did. And I got married a lot quicker than I was intending to. I wasn't crazy. I just thought, well, I think this is the woman I'm supposed to marry. I mean, I don't want to wait longer. You got to consider, how long are you going to wait for the right person or for somebody that you can marry? Yeah, Western feminists upset with age gaps. Mark Richard, yes, I try to use my wisdom, God's wisdom rather of the Bible. No sex before marriage, because if you don't protect her, I explained to her, if we have sex outside of marriage, then you're not protecting her. And that was my stance, because how can she ultimately trust me if I say, well, let's do this before we're even married? Why can't we just get married first? We just had to wait for the wedding and then get married. So, not that it's easy, of course, when you finally found somebody you can marry, but we don't have to be guilty about anything like that. And, we did it the way we sought to do it. So I know what you're talking about there. God and she are protected by God, and she is shocked, but I'm actually trying to protect her soul. There you go, as well as to not send with sexual sin, teaching her a lot about the Bible. And I want to teach my wife things. So we don't have the time necessarily together to talk because we have different shifts now. But while we are together, I certainly like to talk about things, because when I die, this woman from the Philippines who was younger, I want to leave her in a better place financially, but I also want to leave her in a better place emotionally. I don't know, prepare her for life. We've decided she's not going to stay here after I die. She wants to go back home. I want her to go back home thinking she learned something from me. So Mark, I can relate to that. And Byron points out here, there's no guarantee of living to old age for anyone. End-of-life issues affect far more younger people than most of us realize. That's very, very true. I'm only 58, just turned 58, a week ago? And, I've outlived a number of people that I know. People at work have died, probably a handful, with various reasons. One from pancreatic cancer, younger than I am. And, It scares me. Aiza sees this too. She's sees women who the husbands are my age or less, and they're dying, and you know, yeah, you're on the clock. We're all on the clock. I don't know when my time is up. I Heaven forbid Aiza go before I do, because I don't know. It would require a lot of strength and grace for me to go on without that little woman. We both hope we go at the same time, so we don't have to deal with being without the other. And that would be tough, very tough. But we don't know. There's no guarantee. So you're looking for a woman to marry. Don't be too picky. The woman can't be too picky, because if she's in the East, a lot of these women at 25, certainly 30, um, almost are not seen as desirable anymore, which is a shame. And that's a shame, because they can make some really good wives. But that's just part of the wisdom of being older. Byron is no guarantee of living to an old age. Isa's seen a relative that was, I don't know, 30s, or maybe it was a friend who died of diabetes. We don't have a guarantee, no guarantees. So factor that into your decision-making process when looking for someone to marry. Michael and Heidi, I just don't think it works the other way around. Younger men and older women, I've seen it too many times. How is he going to lead her? It ends up being his mother. And yeah, they can say, well, are you just going to try to be her father? Well, no, I'm not her father, I'm her husband. And you could say, well, she's not my mother, she's my wife. It's just not as natural. An age gap marriage is natural since the beginning of time. It's just that the other way around is just not as sought after. Men tend not to be pursuing women 20 years older. And yes, if they are, they probably are doing it with ulterior motives, because it just isn't natural. Now, I'm not going to judge the older man, a long time ago friend that married an older woman. I'm sure he thought it out very, very much, because he had a lot of life left to live as far as he knew. He just thought at that time that's what he was led to do, so that's what he did. And throughout time, older men have sought out younger women. It's not the age, it's your compatibility, it's the direction you're going in life, it's your shared values, it's how well you match up, it's how mature you are. We're all maturing. You don't have all the answers when you get married, but you can continue to learn as you get married. So some of the other comments this lady made here, why can't you see what's going on? Well, I guess because she's not in my shoes. I can see what I can see that's going on, but I can't see what she is presuming is going on in my relationship. She calls it a transaction. Well, again, that's a judgment. It's just a transaction, her body for money. Well, I don't agree with that. That's one of the reasons I married her, of course. I've invested my life into her. It's not just that aspect of it. It's everything, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm investing myself in her. That's a life that's just giving everything I have to her. And I don't think it's a transaction for her, because the two people that are married can tell of their chemistry that they've developed. They can tell through their conversations. We know. No one else on the outside looking in can see what our relationship is. Maybe some of that you can tell in videos or commentary, being together with a couple, but it's not a transaction. That's the easy way out to say that. She said you must feel, or she must feel, like her grandfather is touching her. Well, I don't think my wife feels like her grandfather is touching her. At least she's never said. So again, that's just this Asian woman's feelings, and that's the way she would feel. And that's fine. She doesn't have to marry an older Westerner. I'm not going to twist her arm to do that. She has to make the best decision for her. Um, she also says about me, I must not think that uh, attraction is important for the Filipina. Attraction is important to me. I must be totally not thinking about if attraction is important to my wife or anybody else in that situation. And I told her, I said, well, you know what? I've never even asked, I've never even talked to my wife, if she attracted to me. I've never said I don't care if she's not attracted to me, as this person got out of our dialogue. I never said that. Um, what Aiza says to me is between us. And, again, all I can say is we're fine. We're fine on this end. Um, but no, why would anyone say, well, I don't think you must not think attraction is important to the Filipina. That's up to her. And again, this woman puts an enormous emphasis on physical attraction. That's okay. I'm not going to tell her what to emphasize in her marriage. But there, of course, are other aspects of attraction. For example, if the woman feels like she's got a good, honest, genuine man that has been bypassed by other women for whatever reason, but he says, I want to invest my life in you. I want to take care of you. I want to be good for you. I want to love you. I want to meet your needs. I want to be there for you, so on and so forth. And if she likes that, she thinks that's a good thing, she can be very attracted to that. Again, this is not earth-shattering, but women are able to look past the physical in a way that men are not normally capable of. We, even as we age, decade by decade, still are attracted to women about the same age as when we were younger. That's why men, they get a second chance. They probably look at a younger woman. Women are able, I don't know how, I'm not a woman, but women are able, designed to be able to look past that. And maybe this other woman doesn't see it that way. That's one of the wonderful things about women. Well, I know you'll say, don't, not all women, not women here in the West, but maybe in other countries, the physical appearance is not the same thing as it is here. When I was 53, I realized that the women on Western dating sites didn't want someone 53. They didn't want someone 51. They were looking for somebody under 50. So I guess when they start to get to be 50, they want somebody younger, not somebody their own age. Well, that makes it harder for me. And that's one of the reasons I was able to have, success in the Philippines, where I had a chance with a younger woman. And Michael and Heidi, she can't get away from the desire of a man providing for her. I mean, it's her choice. If she feels like she would rather not be provided for, then that's up to her. If she has offers of provision, she's not twisting his arm or coercing him. He wants to give her a better life. That would be a nice thing. She's probably got more than one person she can choose from, but if she chooses this man, good for her. It's important for her to be provided for, and we shouldn't judge her for deciding who that would be. And Jay Bud, as much as you all hate MGTOW, we don't discriminate against younger women. I don't hate MGTOW. I don't hate Jay Bud, of course. They don't discriminate against younger women. Well, all I know is they've been through an awful lot. They've had to stand back and reevaluate things, and that's a choice they have to make. We all have to make those choices. Even MGTOWs are not getting any younger, and Even a MGTOW has the opportunity to change course a little bit someday if he wants to. But women in the East do afford a man possibilities that he does not have in the West. So another thought she had about me, why don't you see rich Filipinas marrying older women? Why don't you see rich Filipinas marrying younger women? Older men. In other words, why isn't it the poor? Why is it only the poor Filipinas marrying older men? Why don't you see rich Filipinas marrying older men? Well, I don't know. I've been married 4.5 years almost. I care about my marriage. I don't know. That's all I'm plugged into. It may be that, that she feels she doesn't have to, a richer Filipina. But if she's a poorer woman, she may, if she thinks her options include and only include an older man, she's probably going to think, okay, I need an older man. And I'm going to pick an older man who is going to be good to me. I don't think they're taking the first older man that shows interest in them. I hope not. I think Filipinas need to be more discerning in who they choose to involve themselves with. Try to determine if that person is a one-woman man and really wants to settle down with her and develop a relationship with her that will last hopefully as long as possible. Yeah, how do you know it isn't happening, or how does she know it isn't happening? And it probably, it happens maybe more or less, but it all depends on the woman. I think Aiza was showing me a video a month ago about a wealthy Filipina, younger, married an older man. He was a Filipino, but he was not a man of means. He was older. She was the one with all the money, and but she liked the guy, and he was older than her. That may not be the norm, but what you say reminds me of that video that she showed me. But yeah, she's using generalities and assumptions. Mark Richard, well, before I met Merlin, I had a doctor interested in me in the school. Teachers, that is not always true. They have their own money. They do not like, they do like our skin color, the light skin, our longer noses. There are facial features and skin tone that they do like, and so that's fair. They like the Western facial features. They do find it attractive. Yes, my wife has told me she likes me. I try to stay in shape for her. There's certain things I can't do what I used to do, at least not until I'm as healthy as I need to be. But my wife knows the score. She knows I'm getting older. She is too, and that's just something she's already thought through. I'm sure she has. I'm sure she talked to her friends, and she knows what she was getting herself into. So there is an attraction with a man from the West. Not all Filipinas are going to fall all over a Westerner. I think today it probably happens a little less often than it used to, for a variety of reasons. You'd have to look into one of my controversial videos to see why. I won't mention that now, but you can find that stuff in the controversial collection playlist. Yeah, Jay Budd is still learning and are here with us tonight, teaching us about MGTOW side of things, and I have empathy for anybody that's been through that. I didn't know they had all these terms, MGTOWs and incels and TFLers and FAs and so on and so forth that Mr. E knows about. I just knew I was single and unhappy and was spinning my wheels, like running in quicksand. So I didn't know things were as bad as they are. So now we have MGTOW because things really have gotten bad. This woman who writing this is just your typical bitter, over the hill, old over the hill, long past her prime, bipolar, psycho chick who loves to try to make men miserable. Well, she must feel something to gain, even if it's throwing stones. And maybe she feels she missed out on an opportunity. I don't know. What difference does it make? What I don't know. What matters to me is what I do know, and that's why I can remain calm. I mean, if I start lashing out at somebody protesting an age gap, well, then they're going to say, "Aha! I struck a nerve. You're ashamed. You think this is gross. You ought to feel gross. Why should I feel any shame? Why should you feel shame looking for a younger woman if you can take care of her, provide for her? If she marries you by her choice, you go to a wedding, family's there, friends are there, people are happy, you're happy. Isn't that what matters? No marriage to any Filipina is going to be perfect, but I'm married to a Filipina. I'm married. Even when my wife isn't here, like when she's working tonight, I know I'm going to see her about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I guess it'll be a long night for me, but I don't have to go anywhere tomorrow. But we belong. We belong together. We made that choice. We're happy. We'll work things out. We'll take things as they come with the age situation, and just go from there. So yeah, JBud 5000, your analysis is right on par with Mr. E's that I wrote earlier. Most MGTOW men have been hurt badly and drugged through the family court system. They're, just staggering and, bleeding and still very much in recovery mode, just like I am from this knee. And sometimes you don't think the same, and you think the future is bleak because but you get robbed of your finances, and that really hits home right there in the pocketbook or the checkbook or the retirement. That really hurts, and I feel terrible that there even is something called MGTOW, and it's there for a reason. There's something that is often forgotten. Byron Watts, not all Filipinas are desirable to Filipinos, but might easily be very desirable to a Western guy or gal. Saying they shouldn't marry you is silly. And well, a lot of the Filipinas, for reasons that has nothing to do with age gap, will look to a Westerner before Filipino, because there are Filipinos who they don't feel they can trust. They don't feel that they're, well, there's a provision aspect there too, but there's a lot of infidelity in the Philippines. There's no divorce, and people just end up getting a mistress. And if they feel that an older Westerner is going to cherish them more and be more committed to them, then that's a big factor for Filipino. But Filipina, the ones I've talked to, are not shy about explaining to you why they prefer a Westerner. And some of that is because of the way they've been treated in the past by Filipino men. Spike X Spiegel, Hoy Kamusta, I say Kamustica, so I get confused when I see something else. Kamusta? I say Kamustika. My wife says that's the proper way for me to say it. Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? So Spike X Beagle, thanks for you tonight for joining us. We're talking about what do you say to age gap protesters? How do you deal with them? They act like the world is coming to an end because another Filipina bites the dust. Another younger Filipina marries a guy, Westerner, who is 20 to 30 or more years older than she is. She says, I guess she's repulsed. My wife is repulsed by marrying me. Thank you for those still here tonight. Comments from this 30s Asian woman on another board I got into it with. This is a pretty strong phrase. She's repulsed by me. Wow. I would think by 4.5 years of marriage, I would have a lot to worry about if my wife was repulsed from me. Well, this woman who doesn't know me, hasn't watched my videos, doesn't know my wife, has never interacted with us, speaking generally, well, she would be repulsed. Well, that's fine. It's okay. It's okay if this Asian woman would be repulsed by an age gap relationship. She has the freedom to pass on an age gap relationship. That's perfectly okay. My Panay is 23 November. You're 29 in November. Forget the haters. So another guy, a man, probably from the West, under 30. I like to see that because I just want to see people get, married to a Filipina. I mean, ultimately, I don't care where it is. If there's anywhere on this big earth where you can find a suitable mate, I had bound myself to my city because I thought I got to have enough time to spend with them. Well, as it is, I married somebody 9,800 flight miles away. So thanks to Skype and other such apps, we were able to get in the communication I thought I wanted. I wasn't interested in the physical aspect because she was so far away. I wasn't going to go there anyway. But we could talk and talk and talk and talk and learn about each other. We can say anything we dare because we're talking about getting married. And we did, and we decided to get married. So 29, 23, I think even this woman that I'm talking about would approve of your relationship because she thinks within 10 years is fine. So she does have some line of demarcation. She has a great beef with the 20 to 22 to 25 and 30 years old. She thinks that's just bizarre, repulsive for the woman, shameful for the man. And that's okay. I want to know how people think. If those are the words she describes, then that's good because I know what that means. I know what it implies. But I also know that doesn't apply to my wife. It doesn't apply to me. It doesn't apply to other Western men with Filipinas. She says I have to eat balut. I always say, yuck. If you really love her, you will eat balut. Well, thankfully, that was not on our list of proof for her love for me. I just don't think I can do it. I have kind of a strong gag reflex as it is. And I'm afraid, Jay Bud, my mind will start working once I start getting that spoon. And I know what's in there. I mean, I know what's in there. I just don't think I could do it. Now, if I had to do that to prove it to her, I would, but I'm glad I don't think we're going to get to that point. Now, if I could get 500 subscribers from eating balut, I probably would. But, I just don't think I can do it. I don't think we can do it. We've spoken before. Well, maybe you can stomach the balut. I've seen some people eat it without incident, and I've seen other people do it, and the expression on their face scares me off from wanting to do it. So you don't need her approval. Yeah, duck fetus, no thanks. Um, don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think I can go there for me. Um, so she also said my wife is forcing herself to sleep with me, forcing herself. Now, unless she has cameras in our bedroom, then she can't say she's forcing herself to sleep with me. Um, again, we're getting the private things that I don't have to share with anyone. Uh, there's no forcing going on. Um, Filipinas are known for very much wanting to please their man. They want to be a complete wife, and a complete wife to a Filipina, doesn't matter if she's married to an older foreigner, includes, you know, um, her being pleased, him being pleased with her as a lover, because she considers that part of being a wife. Just like she considers managing the house really well and earning income and being responsible, you know. So I would say I agree. That's been my experience with my Filipina. um, yeah, it's willing. We both miss when there are delays like there is now with this surgery. It's going to set us back in that way, but we'll get through it. Um, no more medical emergencies. Oh boy, I'm feeling lightheaded now just thinking about balut. But I tell you what, if we did decide um, to eat balut live here on YouTube, I would be very prepared. I would take my phone. I'd have 911 on speed dial, so that we can get that ambulance up here just as fast as possible. I would want to make sure that we go through all of the will paperwork to make sure that the will is up to date. Make sure I get to the hospital. Um, you have to have a little bit of a safety net here for something as spectacular, something as death defying as eating balut. So I don't want to be crazy and just dig in. I want to be very careful about the balut. And this commentator is a Asian woman in her 30s, taking me to task about my support of an age gap relationship, which I am involved in myself. My wife and I have an age gap, 27 years. My wife never likes me even mentioning that because she doesn't care. I mean, what's the point? I think she wants to steer away from even the thought of these stereotypes. My wife and I, and any couple, they know what's going on in their relationship. They know all the nuances. They know everything that's going on. And so they deal with their marriage, every aspect. That's what anybody else can do. And yeah, Jay Bud, she drove me to the ER. You know, I just got a shower because she's taking care of me like good Filipino wife does. We have to change this. You can't see it, but it's a tight that you wear to keep circulation going. It helps anyway, and you have to change it and replace it with a new one. And so we didn't see all this bruising because it was under the tight, and I have long shorts that cover where the bruising was. Never saw it. When I saw all that blood there, all that bruise, on that left side, I just said, "Hun, ER now." So she looked at it, I looked at it, we covered up and said, "We got to go, let's go." Saturday night, Friday night, we went to the ER, just like that. Aiza got the car. She drove me to the closest hospital, which was 3 miles away. She drove me straight to the emergency room of the hospital, which is not where the main entrance is. And she remembered where it was. I didn't even have to tell this amazing woman where the ER was. I was prepared to, but she knew. She knew generally where the hospital was, and then she knew, okay, I think we were here a few years ago, so she knew the back way to get to the ER. Got out the walker for me to get there, and she stayed with me there. She stayed with me in the hospital overnight. Knee replacement is an overnight these days, and I can see why after having gone through it. So Aiza drove me there. Thankfully, I was able to teach her to drive. And I always wanted to teach her how to drive when she wanted to, but I wasn't crazy about having her own car because I thought if we can just get by with one car, why not do that? And then her job changed and she convinced me 2 cars would be better. I kind of protested for a while, and then I realized, no, I think you're right. Let's get another car, but it's got to be a good one with really good safety features. And so now she's independent. She can drive, which she needs to be. What happens if we're here alone? Then what? As it turns out, all this bruising, which was a lot worse once they took the thing off my leg, it was all over. It takes about a week for that deep, all the damage they've done. It can take a week to go from looking perfectly fine around the incision to looking like you've been chewed by a pit bull. And so I was scared. I wasn't expecting it. I just said, ER, let's go. She took me there. And no, I'm not diabetic. Not diabetic. It was just from the surgery. Since we've been showering, I hadn't noticed any bruising whatsoever. And all of a sudden, that on day 6, it looked like I was bleeding. I'm thinking, my gosh, do I have an infection? What? And I was very concerned about infection and blood clots. Those are your big concerns with knee replacement. You can't even go to the dentist for the rest of your life without a prescription for antibiotics for the rest of your life if you've had a knee replacement. And those are just precautions you take because you have this artificial joint. And but yeah, she got me there. She did a great job. She was prepared. She was ready. Michael and Heidi, this woman sounds of a mean heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, she certainly is concerning herself where she doesn't have to with comments like this. But those of you interested in a Filipina, you're going to get comments like this if you marry someone. Just want you to be calm and don't be defensive. Don't be insecure, because that just makes it look like you're somehow defending wrong behavior, and it's not. She says, she went so far as to say it's prostitution. What we're doing is prostitution. She says my marriage is nothing but prostitution. Why? Because the woman has no choice. She's paying me. I'm paying her to provide for her, even though she's my wife, not a prostitute, even though it's my wife, a woman who I live with every day. That's not prostitution, okay? And I'm not paying her for her intimacy. That's part of our marriage. That's something I owe her, something she owes me. We've talked about that. So no prostitution. This is all voluntary. I'm not paying her for it. I'm not going to never see her again. There's no cost for us being intimate. I'm going to provide for her because I'm supposed to, because I told her I would. Even if we couldn't have any sex, doesn't change anything. I am her provider. I'm going to take care of her. And, saying it's prostitution, like all I care about is that aspect of her. Well, that's really a low blow. That's really unnecessary. That's really grasping at straws. I think that's really making something out of nothing. Spike X Spiegel, yeah, I'm mostly worried about everyone vying after my Messiah because she's so genuinely sweet and gorgeous. At your age, you probably wouldn't have as much competition, not as much of a threat. as somebody I would. I've never heard. I've asked Aiza once in a while, is anybody giving you any trouble? Anybody, staring at you or something like that? Just let me know. I'll remind them where they fit into her life and where I fit into her life. But nothing has happened there. At work, not everybody, but I've been there 30, coming up on 39 years, is it? Yeah, 39 years in a couple of weeks. So I've been there a long time. I think people know me now that didn't know me before, probably because of her. Hopefully some of them even watch this channel because I've got nothing to hide. I'm proud of my wife. I'm happy of our marriage. I want to share with other people that yes, if you've heard Filipinas make good wives, I'll be another one, and I will support that more in depth than most, because that's what this channel is mostly about. Not the Philippines per se, but all the ins and outs you're going to come across in a marriage to a Filipina. We didn't date really. We got married very quickly, and been learning about each other, working things out ever since. Congratulations, Spike X. It's nice to see a younger man look for alternatives outside of Western women. And I agree. I mean, if the climate is getting this bad in America, and it's not just America, but that's where I live. That's what I'm most familiar with. Why wait? You're still young. You have time to consider a woman from the Philippines. One of my videos is called Make a Filipina Your First Choice to Marry. It's just to get a younger man thinking, there are advantages for a younger man over an older man. If you're a salesman, you say, okay, here's the advantages, the pros for an older man. But if you're a good salesman, you can look at it from the other perspective and say, well, if you're a younger man, here are some advantages for you looking for a Filipina. And I think that's the video, Make a Filipina Your First Choice to Marry, where I do outline a few things that you can be confident about as a younger man venturing, to the East. No reason to wait till you're 30, 35, 40, 45, when there's so much ahead of you potentially. Do younger women also want younger men? Is it just the older? No, they do want younger men. A majority on dating site probably stipulate the older men, but a lot of them don't. I saw it myself. They only wanted guys who were within a couple of years of themselves. Yeah, Michael, she has probably been hurt in the past and it's just embittered. It's a possibility. She didn't go into why she feels so strongly about these views, but she does feel strongly about them, and that's okay. But she did her job telling me how gross it was and how insincere my wife's love for me was, and by extension, anyone else. And she doesn't know me from the man in the moon. But nevertheless, that's a prevalent view out there. And probably Western women feel the same way. If they're older, she said, I don't like to see my younger Asian counterparts getting prostituted like this. But that's really disrespectful to her Asian counterparts who have a life decision to make. And some decisions in life you have to make sooner than others. You have to consider your options. And some are deciding to marry older Westerners. Swore off American women for good last year. There probably are some out there, but it's getting harder to locate them. And so, help yourself by researching women from the Philippines, how they can make you a good wife, what they're looking for, what's important to them. There are still, the Western influence is not infiltrated and corrupted the Philippines yet. Not all of the Philippines. We've talked about looking for women from the provinces. My wife is very, she thinks that's the best place to look if you're looking for a conservative woman. I want everybody to save themselves years of agony. You still want to make sure you look out for red flags with a Filipina. But I don't think there's the fear factor. I mean, some can give you this fear factor. They're all going to take your money and run. Take your time figuring out what you're stepping into and then properly evaluate the person. There's no end of videos on YouTube about that. I'm trying to mostly talk about, since most of my relationship with Aiza has been as a married person, what I try to do to help solidify our marriage. Spike X Spiegel, I really had to work to build this bond over the last 11 months, but once they commit, they're extremely loyal, very loyal and committed. That's true. That's true. I can't argue with that. That's a reputation that they have. My wife is loyal. It's her and me. It's us. We're one unit. We try to make decisions together, and it hasn't been perfect over the years, and never will be. But we're getting better. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to get married, have a helpmate, and enjoy what that lifelong relationship has to offer you. J Bud, MGTOW guys love women like this babe. It reminds us we're all we're not missing. Well, I guess I don't know why they don't tell their friends. Look what this guy is doing. He's wasting his time. He's taking advantage of her. If it's gross, they don't love each other. She doesn't love him. Blah blah blah. Why go out and confront a foreigner who is happy with his wife and tell them all these things about his relationship? Very arrogant, it seems to me. Spike X Spiegel. She's been my official girlfriend only for a few months now, but it is very receptive to marriage talks now. She's a LPT teacher, is going to work in Japan soon. I look forward to proposing next year. My wife was a teacher too for a while before I pulled her away from that and married her. And these teachers seem to make good wives. At least that's the way it seems. Proposing next year. Way to go, Spike X Spiegel. Way to go. That's a big moment. And, I'm glad you've talked a lot to her. That's the way it should be. The more you talk, the more you can get to know each other. Because of this very long distance that separates you, talking is about all you can do. And only you would know the cues from the body language and so on, and your conversations, how things are going. So I'm happy for you. I want to encourage person of any age to consider women in the Philippines, so they don't have to be 53 like I was before they get married. At least it gives them another, something to be hopeful for. I used to work on shrimp boats with Pinoys in Fort Myers when I was 21. This got me interested in the culture. Excellent. MH, it's unfortunate you received this comment. As I and others are grateful for the insightful knowledge gained from this channel. I thank you, MH. MH, younger man learning about the value of Filipinas, which I probably heard about when I was his age. Never thought I'd end up marrying one. And what I had heard was they made great wives. Great wives. Then it became, I've heard they make great wives to older Westerners. Well, as I became an older Westerner, I, decided to try to find a Filipina. I did, and we're happy. I don't regret it for a minute. Sometimes I wonder, what led us to get married so quickly, but I just think it was right. It was just things just came together quickly for both of us. We're willing to get married sooner rather than later. Yes, Michael, awesome. I suggest you get married in the Philippines if possible. I agree with Michael. If you can. I married my wife in the Philippines after considering fiance visa, but she wanted to have her family there. And also, if I married her in the Philippines, I would have to go to the Philippines, and I'm glad I did. It was a very eye-opening experience. I learned a lot about the Philippines. I knew little about it, and I've learned more every time I've gone, and I'm so grateful I did, because it showed me what it's been like, where she's been growing up, and the heat and the conditions and so on. And it drew me even closer to her, to actually be there in her own backyard. I appreciate your comment, MH. Mindanao, definitely will marry there. My wife was from the island of Mindanao, Davao City, May 10th, 2015. Praise Journey, thank you for being here. Even though Filipinas are loyal, you never want the courting to ever stop. Good comment. Always be romantic. Love her life like Christ loves the church. I agree, always. A lot to say there. I mean, you said a lot there with that sentence. Never stop courting her. And I've mentioned this before. I look weird like this. This is not going to be my thumbnail, by the way. It looks too weird. Yeah, you want to keep courting her. A lot of guys stop the effort to court her or win her over once they're married. And so I think it's good advice to, you try to go out on dates. I wish we could do more of that. Really try to spend time together and watch movies. And, we've gone some places. We're going to go to the Philippines for a month. We've got certain plans for fun things to do out there. So, we could do more if we're aligned in our work shifts, but they aren't right now. But that's true. You've got to keep showing her. It's just the beginning. Getting married isn't the end of the conquest. Even if I had courted her for 2 or 3 years, once we're married, I kind of have to back up everything I've been saying all that time. So I want to be good to her, and I agree with you. As far as Christ's love for the church, it was without her being good. It was without her deserving any good treatment. Like he says, he'll never forsake us. And I tell Aiza that, hon, I'm never leaving you. You have my total, full support. I'm never going to leave you. I'm always going to be there for you. You don't have to be perfect. I'm always going to want to work things out. And people will say, no, I never say that. Well, how can you argue with God? He says that to his bride. I'm never going to leave you. Now, he can also chasten that bride too. But he's never going to leave her, because he wants her to know, I'm supporting you 1,000,000%. That is supposed to help her feel comfortable. I need to tell my wife. And it doesn't scare me that, if you totally tell her you're committed to her, she has freedom to do anything she wants. Well, that's just the exact opposite of the response I want when I tell her I'm not going anywhere. That's what a woman wants. She wants total commitment. She doesn't want you to be her slave. She just wants to know you're committed to her, no other woman. No other women. That's what her father told me when we got married at the wedding. He came up, told me in the Filipino language, no other women. And so, Papa, no other woman. Definitely won't be doing that. So yeah, a lot of my channel, it's going to say things that are controversial. My definition of love is action. I think the love needs to be constant. I mean, you have to always forgive. You're with her, you're committed, or you're not. I'm pretty black and white in that, with the belief that if you really go all out, she's going to see what she has. I think the more committed to her you are, the less this age gap or the physical, appearance differences matter, because deep down inside, you're meeting needs for her that she wants. You can be that guy. You don't have to worry so much about your age or your appearance. Thank you, Spike X Spiegel. Appreciate your support there. MH, Michael and Heidi, is there particular reasons for marrying the Philippines and bringing them home? Are you an expat living in the Philippines? And I'm sure Michael will answer that down below. Yeah, always shower love, and that's even when she doesn't deserve it, even when we've had our spats and our difficulties, I try to maintain the same habits. That's telling her I love her before, when I get out of bed, telling her I love her when she leaves, drive safely, be careful, texting her. It doesn't matter if we had an argument. I want her to see in my behavior going to change. She might be upset with me. I might have said some stupid things, but I want her to be able to think, yeah, Bob's upset, but Bob still loves me. And this is going to be short-lived. I never want to treat her, and this takes time, takes practice, takes effort. I want to be the same with her, whether we're getting along smoothly, or there might be something we're, arguing about. I'm not sure she lives in Cebu, but the majority of folks are in Mindanao. Spike X Spiegel. Michael says, yes, more than likely she will want to be married with her family in the Philippines. For me, it was definitely because of faith. And, I wanted her to marry where she was happiest, and that was in the Philippines with her family. And it was the right choice as it turned out. I mean, because I think I would have missed out I think the experience was better for me to marry her there than to bring her over here and not see what the environment was like in the Philippines of the woman that I just married. Praise journey, when both partners are working jobs, it is super important to plan weekend vacations and time together. Don't get so lost in the work that you neglect time together. Well, yeah, we're dealing with that. We both work. My wife insists on not expecting everything from me for her family, so she works right now because of particular needs. She's working 20 hours of overtime a week, and that's the limit. That's the restriction for her, or she would try to work more. So, again, I all I can do is tell her, be careful, get your rest. If you don't want to work this overtime, call in, tell them you're not coming in. Just make sure it's in time. There are rules for that. And then we need to make the best of it. We need to make the best of it. You just never know. I didn't plan on this happening when we got married. There are things that will happen. You just have to be ready to adjust to. And so, yeah, you're right. Time is of the essence when we get it, and that would be the weekend, probably about a day and a half, maybe 2 days. We're just going to have to make up for lost time when we're both working. Thanks, Michael. MH, Michael and Heidi, I can understand in terms of money for the family, not always affording to travel overseas. I'll keep that in mind. Well, the foreigner, the Westerner, will pay for everything. He'll pay for the wedding. He'll pay for eventually for her to come up, whether it's fiance or spousal visa. He'll pay for her flights. Some guys like to fly down there and meet her, spend some time, and fly back together to help her enter the country and go through all of that. Aiza said, no, let's save money. So she came up on her own. And for never having gone through the airports and stuff, she's really sharp with that. I rely on her to get me through the airports and all the lines and all that confusing stuff where you go. Just seems like you're showing your papers to people and they're doing nothing but checking them off and sending you to the next person that does the same thing. Anyway, she helps me get through the airport. Michael and Heidi, welcome, sir. For your information to all the guys here, it's a wonderful process getting married in the Philippines. It just takes about 4 weeks. That's what I took, Michael. I took off about 28 or 30 days, got married, left, began the petition in earnest. Already had kind of started it with some PDF paperwork. Once I got my exit stamp, when I left the Philippines and got back, sent a copy of that to my agent, and then we started in earnest on that. 3 weeks later, my petition had been received, and she was here. Could have been here in 6 months, but we waited an extra couple months so she could take care of some things at home. Spike X Big L, speaking to that financial aspect, MH, my Panay, I don't know what that word is, could have chosen a richer man, but chose my effort and true adoration over such material things. After my diploma, security will something eventually. She gets a choice. You're not the only foreigner in her life, possibly. So you want to put your best foot forward. You just want to focus on being honest and genuine. Don't be fakey. These Panays can smell that a mile away. If they think you're genuinely a nice guy and they're not out to scam you, you can get married probably pretty quick. Just don't be afraid to talk about anything before you get married. 4 weeks for the paperwork. Well, it's you can't just get off the plane and say, let's go get married. There's paperwork. I don't even remember what it is, to be honest with you, because most of the time Aiza was handling that. And but we had to wait almost 3 weeks. We had to. Paperwork, laws, I don't know. And then we had to wait a few extra days to allow more people to get to the wedding. And so then we had now, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 days for honeymoon. And then I flew out of there, and 8 months later, we were together. Another week in case of holidays that can slow down paperwork. The NBI visa passport process has seemed to take a while from what she's been going through recently. Yeah, I guess you want your passport updated as much as you can. May have to update the passport from the time she gets married to the time she has her interview. My wife took care of all of that. But the passport can be an issue anytime names change on documents. That can be an issue. Very important to have paperwork filled out properly. Be prepared for Filipino style wedding. Be prepared and save up some money for all the documentation and the wedding. A grand wedding is going to cost more, but she'll probably want, who knows, family, friends, food, celebration, karaoke, all of that is wonderful stuff. So, again, this woman here is commenting, why doesn't this bother us, Western men? How can we look ourselves in the mirror every day? We married a younger Filipina, 20 or more years younger. Shouldn't we be ashamed of ourselves? No, I'm not ashamed of myself, and I'm not patting myself on the back, okay? This was just an option I had as a single person. That was to look to the Philippines to marry. I also had the option of making that person a lot younger than I was, because that was an option. So I took that option, tried to be prepared for what I was getting into. My wife looked at her options. She can look in the mirror knowing that there was no pressure on my part to marry her. I proposed really early, but if she had said, no, it's too soon, we would have gone from there. It was only on day 18 I asked her if she would marry me. Sure seemed like day 90, though, because we talked an awful lot. We've been making it work. So hopefully that's maybe an inspiration to other people, that you don't have to have 4 years of knowledge together. I wouldn't advise getting married really quickly like that to everybody, but I'm just saying it worked. It worked for us. Um, Spike X Spiegel, yeah, but I want it more grand than less grand. My family's small and I enjoy her large family. Well, good for you. I'll tell you what, man, enjoying her family, embracing her family. Your Filipina will love that. She might be wondering in the back of her mind, well, he loves me, but what about my family? Family love is very huge, especially for her parents in the Philippines. And embrace her family. I'm getting to know Aiza's family more and more. I can contact them on Messenger, if Aiza's not around. And the ones that are comfortable with English, I can talk to. That's been very satisfying to see. They love large weddings. I guess ours was a large wedding. We had like 150 people. I appreciate everybody still here tonight, talking about what to say to age gap protesters. That's like saying, don't you feel white guilt? Nope, I was born. Where is my sin in that? No guilt in marrying a younger woman unless you qualify as a predator or something like that. But I think the people I'm trying to impress with Love Beyond the Sea are people who want to be married. They want to invest themselves in the marriage. They have unmet needs. They struggling to find that where they are. I married a Filipina, younger woman, different culture, pretty quick. We've had a lot to learn on the run. I'm just trying to share with what had prepared me over the years for this. I'm not saying everybody has to buy everything I'm selling. I'm just trying to relay what worked for me. That's all. Rodney Full Circle has been resurrected. Hey, thanks, Rodney. I was beginning to wonder if you were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm glad to see you here. We got some new faces tonight, some younger guys. Spike X has began practicing Tagalog a lot. I wish I were your age because then maybe I could learn more words than I can. I kind of doubt I'm going to pick up on a whole lot when I'm there. I know some. I think a Westerner should show some respect for the Filipina and learn some things about basic, greetings and stuff like that. The Filipina will be tickled by the Westerner wanting to learn some, and if he's really into it, and he's got an aptitude for this. Generally, older, it's harder to pick up on the new language. She's going to like that. So good to see you here, Rodney. Finally, you caught me live after 2 hours and 32 minutes. It's a good thing I'm not working tomorrow. And good to see you here. Spike X, you guys, Rodney, do you know each other? I've gone through this list of lamentations that this 30-some-year-old Asian woman had over older foreigners marrying younger Filipinas. They felt that a 10-year age gap was appropriate, doable, it could work, but closer together would be better. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's just drawing a line at 10 years and getting to a point, even in a 20-year group where it's repulsive and gross. And I guess I just take exception to that. I think at that point it's just deteriorating. The logic is deteriorating to their own feelings about it based on who knows what. But don't. My takeaway here: be ready for these types of comments. Stay calm. Don't be defensive. You know what you've got. You know what your game plan is. You know where you're going and trying to go. So just don't overreact. You can try to engage them if you want. Just try not to overreact. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight. Of course, there's going to be a long live stream to play sometime. You're doing some work around the house or whatever, taking a nap. That's what I do for live streams. I just let it play when I don't have to be looking at it. Having a large grand wedding, that's for you and your bride. You decide. Amen. I didn't hear any sin about that. to be a joyful time for you. Michael and Heidi, nothing wrong with a big wedding. That's what her parents are going to want. I can guarantee you that. I've tried to learn, but my girl is not all that interested in me learning Bisaya. Well, and it's not a must. Aiza hasn't insisted I learn, to speak some of the language. It's just kind of nice if you can. I can learn English words very easily, but I have had trouble with the foreign language. But I try to learn the main ones, what I really need to know. Age is just a number, and I'm sure this woman, I could tell you her name, but you can go to Crazy Filipina Loves video, came out a few weeks ago about age gap, and you can see all the sordid details on that. So I just try to stay away from that bickering on my channel. Thank you for the thumbs up. And age is just a number. Well, at some point, years down the road, it may become more of an issue, but the Filipina knows that. The Westerner knows that. You don't even know if you're going to live. As Byron Watts pointed out earlier, you don't know how long you're going to live. We all try to map out our lives as if we're guaranteed 80 years of life, and we're not. We're not. You just don't want to let good opportunities, slip past you, because you don't know if opportunities will be around again. You don't even know when the game of life will be over. Marriage works due to principles, not conditions. I agree with that, Rodney. Marriage works due to principles, not conditions. If the man's got the right outlook and the right principles, then he's able to lead her, and in a way that, touches her heart, that she sees as genuine. She overlooks the physical appearance that is so important to this woman here, that I've been reading her comments. She's very much into physical appearance. Nothing wrong with that. That's up to her. I'm not going to tell her how much emphasis to put on physical appearance. I just know that Filipinas are much more forgiving in that area than women are from the West. But I agree, principles, not conditions. My girl luckily teaches Tagalog, even though Bisaya is her first language, so her fluency is there for each. Yes, amazing. My wife is very good with language, but the dialects, there's so many of them, it's tough. But if you got the patience and the aptitude to learn some words, it's going to be good for you. Tagalog is a cool language. The root word, tense, and conjugation is the tough part. So that's what I try to talk to Aiza about. And she's good at asking me for, how do you pronounce this? Or not pronounce, how do you spell this? And why is it spelled that way and not this way? And I have a lot of sympathy for her, because I'm sure if I tried going to the Philippines and started speaking language, a lot of people would snicker at me, because they would know that I've got the basics right, but it sounds odd because the tenses aren't right. Past tense, future tense, and present tense, and so on. And that's not a small thing for a Filipina to come to your country and be self-conscious about her language. People say her Aiza works with a lot of other women who aren't from here, whose first language is not English, and her English is better than some, and she's only been here a couple of years. I don't even think she even learned until she was in high school at the latest, to learn English. And a lot of Filipinas do not speak it at home as much as they ought, so their English isn't quite as sharp as it could be. But I understand how hard it is, because how hard it is for me to want to learn Tagalog. Rodney, full circle, I had to learn a lot about Philippine culture, and one is their view of age, which we've been talking about today. My girl does not care about my looks or age, but she cares deeply about how I treat her and her family. Absolutely. I know it sounds like a myth. It's too good to be true. And I wouldn't try to sell anybody a false bill of goods. Filipinas are less concerned. Women in general are less concerned about looks than a man. I think Filipina in general is less concerned than most women about this. Part of that may involve some of the monetary aspect of needing to be cared for. But the fact is, just look at a lot of Fil-Am couples or Filipinas with other men from other countries, and you can see these lovely women are not always hooked up with the Harrison Fords or Brad Pitts of the world. And so I agree. That's why I think, guys, you want to major in how you treat her, because, be consistent through all situations, through your own aging, through thick and thin. She needs to know you're reliable and stable. You're not going anywhere. You trust her. You're not trying to control her. You care about her family, because there's nothing more important to her than that family that she's been with her whole life, sleeping 3-4 in a bedroom or a bed sometimes. You have to be there to see it, to experience it. I have learned to invest myself more emotionally in her family because it's important to my wife, and they're also more important to me. As time goes by, my wife would agree with that. She can see that, and a smart man will not oppose her family, but learn to embrace them, because the family is very important to her. Spike X Spiegel. Oh yeah, Senamar, an affidavit from the embassy in Cebu or Manila. I think it's called an affidavit in lieu of capacity to support. I'm screwing it up, but yeah, the guy going to the Philippines, has to prove he's never been married, or, so there's this $50 document you got to pay for, and that's part of your petition. But all of that stuff is available online. My girlfriend is named Apple. One of my many nicknames for her is Proots, due to the way they pronounce F's. I got plenty of nicknames for Aiza, that's to be sure. I like the Filipina accent. It's very endearing to me. I hope my wife never loses her accent. Absolutely, Michael and Heidi. Her voice soothes me. Well, therapeutic. Filipina's voices are usually quite young and angelic. Like one night we were in bed, just, I don't know, looking at our phones or whatever, and it wasn't night. It must have been the afternoon, because the phone rang and somebody said, well, she answered the phone, and they said, hello? And then she said, yes, how can I help you? And they sounded confused, and they said, can I talk to your mother, please? Aiza says, I don't know what she said. She just matter-of-factly, I don't know what she said, but it was kind of funny, because this person thought they were talking to a child, and you'll probably have that same experience. Rodney, full circle. I had to learn about love and what makes marriage work. Age, common interests, common height, same country are not factors to a successful relationship. There are some threads that are important, and so I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for everybody still here tonight. And people say, what do you have in common? What did I have in common with my wife? Other than, we were both Christians. I don't know. She was on the other side of the world. I was an older guy. And all I knew was, again, what I needed, what I could provide for her, what her needs were. And if we felt we could both meet each other's needs, then we could get married. It's just my wife for there. And so I was going to base it on not what we didn't have in common, but let's let's make things in common. Let's decide what we want to do. Let's decide, what our plans are going to be together. I kind of stopped thinking about what I wanted to do in life, and just decided to focus on what was best for her. And if it was her preference, and then let's go ahead and do it. Like for where we travel, I wasn't a traveler, so if she wanted to go here versus somewhere else, who was I to interfere? I wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway. So if she wanted to go somewhere, we'll go there. And she likes to go to plays and that sort of thing, which I had never done, and I like it now. We're going to one in a couple of weeks, the Phantom of the Opera at the Leeds Center. Probably, what is it, $80-$90 a ticket. It'll be one of those dress-up type things, but they're good. I almost like them more than sporting events because you never get let down at these plays. Great singing, great talent, great acting. The whole production is really cool. And so I would have missed out by saying, no, I don't care about that. So I said, okay, hon, you like to do that? Okay, I'll go with you. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I do. Now I know what she likes, and we have something we can do together. Well, Spike X Miguel, I certainly hope you do too. Character, that's timeless. That crosses all boundaries. Principles, faithfulness, dependability, truth, these things really matter. And that can be done by anybody. It's not limited by what country you're in. If you can be genuine, thanks for the thumbs up. If you can be genuine, honest, communicate your needs and your wants, communicate, what kind of husband you think you can be, kind of relate to her, I want to meet your needs. I want to be a good husband. What are you looking for in a good husband? Maybe I can be that guy. I'm a one-woman man. I'm not a player. I'm not interested in looking around. I'm not interested in playing the field. I just want to find a good wife. Don't think I can do it here where I am now. And, I like your profile, and I'd like to get to know you more. And just start talking. Don't be afraid of talking to a younger woman. If you're about her age, then you still might be intimidated because she's so lovely. But no need to be. They're on the shy side, but they won't be afraid to talk to you. Hey, Bob, you're building something, not looking for something already made and built. So yeah, build things in common. We both will help each other discover things to have in common. You just keep on keeping on and building that marriage. You never know when it's going to end through death, but you never know how long it's going to be. It could last a long time, and you just marry assuming you're going to be together a long time, and you don't want anything or anyone else to interfere with your relationship, so you protect it. MH, enjoy yourselves, Bob. I'm sure you guys will love it. The play, yeah, I will love it because these guys are talented. Aiza asked me the other day, are they really singing these songs? I said, yeah, hon. I mean, there's an orchestra there. You can't see, but there's an orchestra. It's all live. They're singing all these songs. You get into it. And it's always a big ending, of course. And then you always leave, like any good movie, feeling good about yourself. You're never complaining about bad officials' calls or poor play or poor coaching like you do if you're a big sports fan like I am. You just go to the play and you enjoy it. And these are big time productions. I mean, this is some serious talent here. And I like it now. I'm the one that said, hon, did you see this ad here? Is this something you'd like to see? I'd go to it with you. So we decided I'd buy it for her birthday. One woman man, Spike X Spiegel, one woman man. That's exactly what she wants to hear. There's a lot of infidelity, a lot of unfaithfulness in the Philippines. She's looking for someone that will devote himself to her. What woman isn't? I have found that there are people who will protest anything. That's true. I guess they can protest. They're not going to change my mind. I mean, if you are in love with a younger woman, to me, meaning you are willing to commit yourself to her for the rest of your life, for her good, with the belief that the more you invest in her and give to her, the more she will naturally give back to you. It's like Luke 6:38, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will men return to you. Not even talking about money in Luke 6:38. So I always try to talk about being generous to her. If you've married a decent woman, she's not going to take advantage of that. She is going to respond to that with giving to you. Rodney, full circle, I'm a one-woman man, and that is why my girl is still with me. Just want one woman be known for having loved her well. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe, Rodney, some people don't think that's very exciting. But these play for payers are finding out after years of fooling around that they're left an empty shell because they don't have anyone in their life. All they've done is add on a bunch of years to their life, and they've been used by the women as much as they have used them. Much better to focus on one woman. No matter what happens, just be committed to her. There's nothing, as I've said before, there's nothing better than a good woman. And there's nothing worse than a bad one. Still have to be careful. Look out for red flags. That doesn't limit excitement. One man, one woman, or one woman, man. No, I mean, it would be very empty just to go from one woman to the next because there's no investment there. There's no gain there. I don't know. That just doesn't appeal to me any. Xavier Vela, welcome to tonight's live stream. I believe it's all about commitment to each other because of the commitment of the couple has to the Lord and His Word. I agree, and I thank you for stopping by so late. I appreciate all the new faces I've seen here tonight. That's very good to see. Commitment to each other, commitment to the Lord first. And like my wife says, she wants someone that loves God more than he loves her. And there are times I've had to tell her, hon, because I love God first, I have to make a decision that I know you're not happy with. I try to be as amenable as I can to her, but there are times when I have to say, look, here's my justification for why I can't go along with this, or not right now. I appreciate the thumbs up. And that is, I have to answer to God first. My wife knows if I have to make her unhappy because I have put God first, we knew that going into the marriage. I want to be very helpful to her. But every decision has to be based on what I think is best, based on what the Bible says. So if I feel like, no, I just can't do that, if God would feel like I'm weaseling out of my responsibility and I can't stand up to my wife and say, no, hon, I don't think so. I can't do that. And here's why. Then she'll just have to accept that. But I've got to explain to her why. And that doesn't come up very often. But you got to make a ton of decisions when you're married. And, the tie goes to the husband, as far as I'm concerned. I made a video it was a live stream actually, about what am I trying to say here? About submission. What headship is, what headship isn't, what submission is, what submission isn't. I think it's a good live stream if you guys want to know how I think about that, because I'm not a what do you call it, a simp. I don't just cater to my wife and everything. I don't think that builds respect from the woman. She needs to know there's somebody in her life more important than she is, but that would have to be God, the one that she claims to worship. That's why she needs to know he comes first, and hopefully that's never going to be an issue. But I do have the bottom line, to make decisions, but I want to try to appease her as much as possible. Um, Most satisfying thing in all the world. Yeah, it does feel good when you found the right one. Rodney, full circle. But my brother, it is the most satisfying thing in all the world to love woman and to be loved and respected by her. Praise God for his creation. Yeah, women are great. And if you find the right one, don't look for a perfect one. There is no the one. There is no the one. Um, there's many options out there. You just have to not become paralyzed with the choices and the options so that you're not making a decision. Just main thing is, like Rodney was saying, prepare yourself, with the virtues, of being, character, principles, faithfulness, dependability, be truthful, be honest. I think she'll see that. I think they can spot, a player a mile away. So, I think nice guys still can finish first in the Philippines. Thanks for the thumbs up. I have a video called Nice Guys Finish First in the Philippines. The idea that a guy might get overlooked in his country, but not so much overlooked with a woman from the Philippines. Yeah, it is a great thing. People can say, as somebody at work told me, they later got married though, but they told me marriage is just a piece of paper. Not going to get married. Been married before, is divorced, not getting married. Just a piece of paper. Well, he's married now. It's not just a piece of paper, and I don't even know if I can describe that. It's commitment. It's a living, breathing organism. We're going through ups and downs together, new situations together we had the last time, and you grow together. You learn to appreciate every single day that you're together. I can't tell you how much I concern whenever my wife gets on that road. And she's a good driver, but a lot of people aren't. And anybody can take their eye off the road, be concentrated on something else, slip on the ice here, in Nebraska, snow, all that stuff, get into an accident. I cherish her very much. I pray for a long relationship with her. I do. And for her protection. I need that woman. Yeah, it sounds like all I talk about is how I'm trying to be good to her and give to her. And I do, because that makes me happy to give to her. But the more I give to her, the more she means to me, and the more anything she does for me matters. Whether it's taking me to the emergency room the other day, going to pick up prescription pills from the pharmacy, showering, cooking the food, changing this dressing, on the wound, covering it up for the shower, things like that. You feel kind of helpless for, but she's always done that. There's times I blew my back out, and then she fed me in bed, got a massage for me, helped me shower. That's just a good, standard issue Filipina, good quality standard issue Filipina. Don't be afraid to go all out to show her you care about her, because that's what she wants. She's not going to come out and say that. She probably doesn't expect to find that. But just find a good one with character. Character doesn't equal perfection, but character is more important than these looks that this Asian woman here, that was so important to her. Rodney, full circle back to age. She is capable of making a mature decision, and so am I. She can decide for herself based on objective morals and truth. Most age complaints are based on feelings. Truth trumps feelings. So I agree with you that she is mature, and she wouldn't like anyone insinuating that she's being desperate, that she has no options, that she's only marrying this guy because she's poor. There is a stigma in the Philippines. Yes, in the Philippines, of younger women marrying older men. That there are women in the Philippines that they look down on that. Um, Apparently, because well, this person is um, giving up their youth and all of that because of the financial future. I just don't think it's as simple as that. She can do the math, as I said earlier. Um, she does want to go across the world to live with somebody that she thinks cares about her. She's not going to move away from everybody to be with some jerk. Um, she's not a robot. She wants to be taken care of. She's a woman. No matter what they say in the West today, a woman, wants a man to, you know, take care of her. I think it's always been that way. Uh, Financial provision is part of that. She doesn't want to marry someone and then work her fingers to the bone the rest of her life. The man should be able to provide for her. That's the thing he should be working for, and being responsible with his money as he can find work and save money and not waste money. That's important too. So I think we will, unless there's any other comments here. I need to start moving around a little bit, and I'm very pleasantly surprised by the new faces here today. A lot to name, but thank you for everybody here tonight. We're just getting back into the issue of age gaps and the protesters, and you know, just hopefully it'll make you feel better that if you're looking for an age gap relationship, it's not a dirty old man that looks for an age gap relationship. They may want to just sleep with these women, but somebody with principles and conviction will want to marry her and love her, take care of her, you know, and that's what she wants. So it is an option, for younger man, middle-aged man, older man. Enjoy your evenings. Hope to catch you all next time. Well, speaking of next time, Spike X Miguel, I have talked to Aiza about doing a live stream on this coming Saturday here, USA, 6:30. I think that's the 19th, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now it's 9:04 Central Standard Time. So that'll be when she gets home from work. We'll talk about working in America and money matters with my wife. So anybody wants to ask her some questions, she will be here to do that. And so I look forward to seeing everybody back here on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Thank you for your comments and contributions. I know this is an interesting topic. I just want to know what everybody else has to think. I can say my piece and say this is what I believe and this is a good way to look at it. But always interested in what everybody else has to say. So we're going to end this live stream after probably the longest one we've ever had, but I didn't have anywhere to go. We still got some people there. So I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their evening to watch tonight till Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. This is Bob on Love Beyond the Sea.